Hello! So this evening we are taking a look at the A6 Intruder in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I didn't even realise this aircraft had came out, didn't even know it was in development, and there's probably a good reason for that. It's not an accurate depiction of the A6 Intruder at all, although outwardly it looks exactly like one. It doesn't have much of a flight model, and the systems modelling is very generic and very simplified, but it does look very, very impressive, doesn't it? So it's made by Deimos, or Deimos, I'm not sure how you pronounce their name. So if we go and have a look around it, there's been several videos of this aircraft floating around, and I think the reason may be that some of the other reviewers that typically look at all the aeroplanes haven't looked at this one, is because yes, it is idiosyncratic, let's put it that way. But having said that, the actual aircraft itself is really nicely modelled, and the liveries are very, very good. But I guess that's because there's a number of A6s in museums around the place where you can get really good references of how they looked. Okay, so looking around in detail at the modelling, you can see, yeah, the 3D modelling and the texture modelling is very, very good. We're using the Supercarrier mod from Miltech, by the way, if you're wondering, which is why we are able to sit here on the ramp, or sorry, on the lift, to be lifted up to the flight deck. So shall we go and do that? So if we go and jump, we can do this from outside actually, which will be quite good fun to watch this happen. So we'll go and move the camera slightly, and we'll open up the dialogue which lets us control the Supercarrier, and we can go to the controls and we can ask for the lift to be lifted. Now you can see the aircraft bobbling around, which gives away this is a complete and utter hack. So the aircraft will slowly raise up to the flight deck level. So while that's happening, let's go and have a look around inside the cockpit and start to get things powered up, shall we? So you can see there's lots and lots of switches. You get the option of showing the pilot and the co-pilot. So there is a bank of switches here which show the ladder. So if we go and quickly look outside, you will see the ladders hopefully come into view, or not. You get pilot or co-pilot. You get the pilot name to appear if you want to on the side of the aircraft. I'm not going to bother with that. So around the back we get the battery master switch and the avionics master switch. And like I said, it's massively dumbed down. You've got the fuel shut-off valves, which seem to be reversed. You've got the left and right generators, and then on the back of the throttles, which I'm going to have a job getting to with this camera, we're going to go right underneath them to see this. There are two buttons that start the engines. Okay, we can go and put the strobe lights on while we're at it, and the oxygen on. In fact, I'm surprised we haven't heard anything from the engine yet. It's coming up slowly, and so is the flight deck. Okay, shall we close the canopy before it gets too loud out here? So there's a canopy switch over here. And we'll leave the Supercarrier controls available for the moment. We'll come off the parking brake. We should have some throttles by now to be able to manoeuvre the airplane around. He says, famous last words. Have the engines actually come up to speed yet? Yeah, they appear to have. So, is the parking brake working is the next question. So what's the complaint about the anti-skid? Okay, yeah, I know what that is. So, anti-skid is under here. Just checking around some of the switches that do work. So we've got the floodlights, we've got formation lights, which are between dim and bright by the look of it. We've got the key lights should be on. We've got the taxi probe lights. Rudder trim, hook bypass, that's all. A lot of this is here but not really doing anything. Just as the radar is here and the sensor suite switches, none of the sensor suite switches work, none of the weapon system switches work. so a lot of it's here just for show. There's the most bizarre version of an attitude indicator I've ever seen. Apparently it's halfway correct. If you go and search out film of real intruders, I guess the easiest reference point is the movie Flight of the Intruder, which was based on the book, which also gave rise to the video game many, many years ago. I actually had a copy of it. Okay, so let's see if we go to head tracking mode now and come off the parking brake. So we want to put the wings out, don't we? Now there's a switch here. And there's a nice animation of the wings. Okay, so we'll say we want to take off on the nearest cat. So we've got the guidance over there now. Okay, it doesn't give you any instruction on kneeling the aircraft or anything like that, as far as I'm aware. Oh, they're saying that. Look, he's doing it now. Now he's saying wings, which we have done. So we just keep clicking the tick, and then we can click the final one to go in a moment. So we put the parking brake on, as far as I'm aware, and click go again. I think you get to see the animations of things happening around the aircraft. We've just done the final checks. Okay, so we can see inside now. Run the engine up. Flaps and go. Okay, so we'll do a couple of circuits just to get a hang of the aircraft. It flies okay, it seems to be massively simplified. I'm not sure that we actually need to have any of the guidance on for the call-outs with the ball. We could probably land it fairly confidently without being helped. So you've got, what have you got in around the cockpit? You've got indicated airspeed here on a fairly old-fashioned gauge, but this is a 1970s aeroplane after all. Altimeter, angle of attack meter, radar altitude. You've got your HSI over here, vertical speed, a clock, and you've got liquid oxygen showing up over there. So let's go and throw this around a little bit before we go back to the carrier, shall we? So the one thing that's amazed me, that's full roll rate. I don't think that's enough for an intruder. I think they were much more agile. So it's kind of a shame. So I'm going to fly overhead. I'm not going to do an approach on this lap. And unfortunately, I think I'm being tracked by somebody, which is a bit of a shame, but it seems to happen to me a lot of the moment, so I end up turning the data off all the time because of that. If it does happen, I will go and change servers. I completely forgot to turn multiplayer off. So the head-up display doesn't seem to do anything. Most of the rest of the instruments look okay. The armament is bizarre. They haven't stretched the, or they haven't configured the textures properly, I don't think. The angle of attack meter doesn't seem to, or on speed meter, sorry, doesn't seem to operate. nice overview of the carrier there. So if we do a brake and drop down to 800 feet. It's got some really nice spoilers. If I jump to the outside view, you can see them here, look. So yeah, you can't really fault the 3D model at all. It's just a shame that the rest of the systems modelling isn't up to the standard you might expect. Okay, let's put the hook down. So we'll look at that from outside, so you get to see it. So we're full flaps, we're about the right place in the sky. A bit quick. We have got those spoilers to play with, remember.
Clara, you're high.
Oh, he's still going to call us out even though we've closed the dialogue.
Roger, Ball. You're lined up left. You're going low.
There we go. Whoa! And if you put the brakes on, this is a curiosity of the carrier mod. It's a bit flaky at the best of times, so we can release the hook and we can taxi over and go again. So flaps back for takeoff again. It's a nice looking carrier, isn't it? They've done it really well. So we open the super carrier again and we'll go to controls and say FarCat again. I'll put it on the outside view this time while we're doing things, just to help us out. Okay, so we click the tick mark. Now he's asking for the wings. And then the crew jump in and do something or other. They're checking things. And they bring up the and away we go. Does look the part, doesn't it? So yeah, it's it looks the part, but that's the thing, it doesn't act the part. But then if you just want a fun airplane to fly around in that, you know, doesn't really penalise you for throwing it around incorrectly, you're going to have fun with it. Okay, let's get the hook put back down again. Slow ourselves down, get the spoilers out. And we'll come back in again.
Don't go any higher. You're a little low.
There we go, it's a bit better than the first one. Okay, so we'll let it pull us back this time. And we'll just dab the brakes. I just don't want the aircraft to tip on its tail. No, it's still going to do it, look. I guess we could have stopped that by letting go of the hook. So the only way out of that is just to hit the slew button, unfortunately, but it's just a quirk of this aeroplane, let's put it that way. Okay, should we go and park it back up on the ramp? So let's go and put the wings up while we're on our way. You can see that happening from in here. It's interesting that you can animate the wings while the flaps are still down. That shouldn't be possible. I should have complained about that. Okay, so there we go, just about on the ramp. Oh, we need to ease forward a tiny bit. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. So there we go, that's the A6 Intruder in Flight Simulator from Deimos. It's available in the marketplace. It's about £21, which is probably about $26, $27. It's pretty good, isn't it? It looks the part. It just doesn't operate as a warplane should, but then hardly any of the warplanes in the simulator do, so we're not going to complain too much about that. You can see there's some strangeness around the effects here and there. But overall, it looks quite photorealistic. I didn't actually go and put the second pilot in for you, did I? Let's go and do that. So we'll go and put the pilot name, co-pilot, ladder in place, pilot in place. Let's go and shut those engines down while we're here. If I can get to the switches. No, I can't get to them easily. So yeah, you do get both pilots in there, both animated, both with their own animations, which is quite cool. And off we go into the ocean. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's the A6 Intruder, and this was the Super Carrier mod that we were operating it from. See you again soon.